Good morning, everybody. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, friends. Hello, Maureen, Ash, Aaron, Laura, Angel, Jeremiah, Carla, Mr. Wallace. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Looking forward to hearing some arguments against the SAVE Act. My MAGA sis-in-law is posting all the propaganda from the orange one, of course. Hey, Shelby. Hey, Lady Prairie. Hey, Court. What are you confused about, Aaron? Guys, so the new episode came out today. Please make sure you check it out. For some reason, it hasn't been watched very much. I'm sure it's just people having a chance to watch it. It's a really cool episode. The person running is actually in my district. They're progressive, running as a Republican to try and primary the current Republican, who is just a piece of shit. So you should definitely watch that. Did you guys know anything about? I saw some videos about it this morning, Carla. I haven't had a chance to look into, I mean, there's no more information, at least not that I've seen about it. But I did see what was going, like I did see some videos, the fact that they've shut down a 10 square miles over El Paso. Oh, it just reopened? What the heck? Hey, Jose. Hey, Laura. Hey, AJ. How's everybody doing? Oh, I mean, there's more to it than just that, Mr. Wallace. I would have a problem with real IDs having to be real IDs, because again, they don't make it easy. The idea is that you cannot make it. Voting is a right, and because it's a right, it has to be something that is accessible for people. There's a whole laundry list of problems with it. I have no issue with them creating some or having something that is necessary to vote, as long as they make it free and easily accessible. You do that, I'm all good. Like, if you are born, you have a social security number. Second you turn 18, you are sent a voter card. Or if you don't have an address, you can go in somewhere and get a voter card. That automatically happens. You're automatically registered. Automatically. But they're not even requiring them. That's the crazy thing, Mr. Wallace. Now for flying, if you don't have a real ID, all you have to do is pay like $45 and you can still fly. There's a whole load of problems going on right now when it comes to all that. I don't have a passport. Most people don't have a passport. Half the country doesn't have a passport. Are real IDs on the accepted list for voting? Nope, they are not. No, Maureen, they are not. Because technically people that are not citizens can get real IDs. Here's the thing. I don't think the SAVE Act would pass constitutional muster, which is why it didn't make it past the last time. There's a reason that people in the end aren't going to vote it through. It'll disenfranchise a lot of people. Morning, Linda. Hey, Kia. For the real ID? No, that wasn't the point. I think you're going to get a lot of people not showing up for the World Cup. I think you're going to have a lot of people in Mexico and Canada, and you're going to have nobody in America. I think that's what's going to happen. I think you're going to have packed houses in Mexico and Canada, and nobody is going to show up for hardly anyone is going to show up for the US ones. Because there are Kia, because there are technically people that aren't citizens that have the ability to get a real ID. I'm not agreeing with the statement. I'm just telling you what they're saying. All real ID does is prove that you live in this country, not prove that you're a citizen. Officially. That's all it officially does. They want a birth certificate, or I forget what the other things were. Passport. I feel like there was one other thing. But yeah. Of the real ID? No, the point of the real ID was not to prove you were a citizen. I mean, maybe that's how they argued it, but that's not what it does. Correct. It's a poll tax, which is why I don't think it'll pass. Again, I don't actually have an issue with there being some sort of identification that you have that shows you are a citizen and can vote. What I have an issue with is them doing it in a way that makes it difficult for people or expensive for people. Oh, Social Security card. That was the other thing. If you have a Social Security number, you have the right to vote. And I know there's some different kinds of social security numbers. Just make certain ones only ones that work for citizens. First off, Steve, I'm not a Democrat, so I don't know what you're talking about. Again, you can have different kinds of Social Security numbers. Permanent residents can get a number but you can set it up in such a way that Social Security, there's specific kinds of Social Security numbers that are for citizens, that citizens get as opposed to a permanent resident. It makes it easy enough to separate the two. I think the tube must be having issues because no one, like, my video has been barely getting watched by anybody that I put out, and that's unusual for me. Well, yeah. I mean, especially people that moved. Again, Steve, I'm not a Dem, so I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're talking to a lot of independents. A lot of the country is an independent. I don't care about a CNN poll. I care about people having access to whatever people want to do to quote unquote prove you can vote. Easy access. Free access, because voting is a right. It's not a choice. I agree, Linda. When I first applied to become a U.S. citizen, I got a temporary SSN. When I became a permanent resident with a green card, I got a permanent SSN that stayed the same as one when I became a citizen. It's a way to disenfranchise women, people of color, poor people, disabled people. There's a whole myriad of people that are disenfranchised if this goes through. The number doesn't change. You only have to notify the SSN admin that you changed your status. I hear you how it is. I'm saying we could create a way that worked. We could create a way that worked in terms of social security numbers for immigrants and permanent residents and then who become citizens. Like R and MAGA voting bloc will be affected too. Yeah, everyone will be affected. My wife is white and her parents are hard conservative, but not MAGA. At least they claim. This past weekend was interesting with my father-in-law regarding the Obama vid. Oh yeah. Just woke up, not firing yet fully. It's okay, Rosa. Hi. Yeah, what do you do if you're what do you do if it yeah. I don't think, again, it's always wealthy white people. Told my hubby that I'd rather divorce him but stay together as a couple in order to save my right to vote. He understands fully. Yep. I would do. I would totally understand. I thought I would have finally had to go no contact, but they decided to be on the right side of that topic, at least to my face. Yeah. There are a lot of Republicans that lean more towards the middle that that were disgusted by that whole Obama video thing. I'm for all women divorcing their husbands or keeping their maiden name. I'm all for that too. Again, the problem is not an ID in the grand scheme of things. It's the accessibility and ease of getting it. Because again, voting is a right. And part of being a right means being easily accessible. If you have to spend money to get it, if it's very difficult for you to get it, that's a poll tax. That's illegal. Or I should say, that's unconstitutional. I don't think it will pass. Or if it does, I think it will get taken. I think it will get overturned by the Supreme Court. It is blatantly, obviously a poll tax. Now, again, I understand we're talking about our Supreme Court, but still. The crazy thing is, and the thing that drives me nuts is the people that actually believe that millions of non-citizens are voting. Like, that's the weird and crazy part of all of this. right? When it comes down to it, that is the craziest part of this whole thing, is that there are actually people that believe with their whole chest, even though there is literally no evidence to it at all, that millions of people are voting illegally. Millions of non-citizens are voting. That's what they believe. And honestly, what it makes me think is that they're just losing their minds. Like, I think there's something literally going wrong in their heads to believe that. Well, yeah, I think they found 1,500. Mr. Wallace. Hey, Alex. Right, and those millions of non-citizens are obviously voting Democrat. Hey, Silver. Bondi's about to testify in a few minutes. Oh, boy. What does a prescription have to do with voting? Those are two completely separate things. Taking medication is a choice. Voting is a right. I don't know why you can't understand that. The problem is not with the idea as a whole. The problem is with the fact that these kind of acts, these kind of things make it difficult to impossible for certain people to get them. You cannot make it hard or impossible to vote. That is a right. Hey, Garpu. Hey, Liz. What do you miss? Oh, you know, talking about voter IDs and the SAVE Act and people thinking that. No, that wasn't ours, Steve. Hey, Shelly. I mean, there are certain meds that you have to show an ID for, but not, it's very specific meds. And again, none of them are required. It's not like they're life or death meds in general. We're talking about the difference between a right and a choice. No, Steve, I mean, Steve might watch, but our Steve might watch, but he doesn't usually talk. The worst, most fraudulent attack on our voting system came from Trump. Yep. Yeah, again, the problem is not IDs as a whole. The problem is that it cannot be something that is hard or impossible. If you are disenfranchising people from being able to vote, according to the New York Times, military was testing new counter drone tech at Fort Bliss. That's why El Paso was shut down briefly. Interesting. Or it has a price tag to get. Yep. True. No worries, Rosa. You're good. I understand. No, again, they believe that fraudulent voting is rampant, and if they don't make it hard, then then all of these fake voters will be getting out and voting. That the halftime pushback was the NFL's fault? No, I didn't see that. I mean, it's for anybody that for whatever reason has trouble getting, like, they don't believe it, they're just making it up so other people believe it. I mean, the people that are making the law, I'm sure don't believe it. But there are plenty of Americans in this country that do believe it. For whatever ridiculous reason, they have convinced themselves or been convinced. There are lawmakers that don't want women to vote. That too. That too. Unfortunately. If they pass the laws written so it'll go in effect immediately. Yeah. That's why I'm saying I don't think it will happen. There's too much wrong with it. There's too much wrong with it. But we definitely should be paying attention for that reason. Obviously, I don't trust this administration, so. Or Congress. In the end, the only way it would get through is if the Senate got rid of the filibuster, and they've already said they're not going to do that. IKEA. Am I going to stream Pam Bondi today? Probably not. I just have a feeling it's going to be a bunch of the same thing it was the last time I watched Pam Bondi doing it. And it just pissed me off. And I don't need to be pissed off about her dumbass responses, if I'm being straight. I understand people's desires to watch it. I just don't have a desire to get angry. And watching her lie. And every time a Democrat asks a question, she just tries to point out something else that accuse them of doing something instead of actually answering the question. Good morning, Jill. How are you? Hey, Shane. Schnarf. Hey, Vonda. Hey, Kimmy. It's too, yeah, it really is too early for that. Hey, Ziggy. Good morning, Kimmy. I don't know which this thing in Congress is for, Mr. Wallace. It's either the e-files or it's the stuff going on in Minnesota, probably. It's one of those two. I'm not sure which. Just came over from the tube. Hey, Emma. Yeah, I saw that, Aaron. Saying hi over here, collecting the points. Thank you, Vomingmo. Appreciate you. House Judiciary Committee. Good morning, Justice. Good morning, meme. Requiring us to vote. It's not just require. It's not that they want ID. It's how they are requiring it is the equivalent of a poll tax, which is anti-constitutional. Nope. Total difference. You can choose whether or not you buy something that requires an ID. Voting is a right. You cannot impede someone's ability to vote. That is against the Constitution. Is the Pam Bondi thing live? Supposedly. I don't bring up people I don't know. I'm sorry. When I moved to MA, I asked my town clerk when my ID would be coming. She was pretty pissed when she told me we don't do that here. You think that orange snowflake man child gonna war over midterms? Probably. He's definitely gonna do whatever he can to make it hard for people. Why is this so unnecessarily complicated for the US? Why? Because there is a group of people that that want to stay in power by making it hard for other people to vote. Honestly, no argument. The way our country is doing things right now is very illogical. Can't argue that. Can't argue that. I mean, getting rid of the Electoral College would definitely help in certain respects, yeah. Voting is a right. See, I don't think it'll be interesting to watch, Ken. I think it's going to be just another version of the last time she was in front of them and say a whole bunch of nothing. That's what I think it will be, is a whole bunch of nothing. What we go to, if not the Electoral College? Popular vote. You go to popular vote. Whoever gets the most votes nationwide. Again, shoe shine. Totally agree. You should I have no issue with the idea of an ID for voting, but you have to make it easy and accessible and free for all citizens. Why would we stop voting? Birth certificate is not easy to get. It does not take 15 minutes to get a birth certificate. That's a dumb statement to make. Oh, so your experience means that it's the same experience for everybody. Is that how you think it is, Jeff? Grow up. Gosh. Well, I did it quickly. That must mean it's easy for everybody. Hey, Eleanor. Took me 3 months to get my birth certificate because the state of Kansas hasn't digitized that far back yet, and I was out of state. Yep. Again, I don't have an issue with the concept of having an ID, needing an ID to vote, as long as the way you get it is easy, accessible, free. If it is encumbering in any way for any American citizen to get it, it is against the Constitution. Correct, maybe. Correct. If it's a right, Brian, it should be free. Correct. And I'm not a Democrat, so shut up. A personal state ID is not enough according to the SAVE Act. Maybe 15 minutes filling out the forms, but then it's a lengthy process and fee to actually get a valid document. Yep, Shell. It's a complete pain in the ass to get a birth certificate from Minnesota if you don't live in the state. Yep. I see I didn't miss the fun. You didn't miss the fun. What's up, Scott? Hey, Mama Bear. You need an ID for things that are optional. Voting is a right. If you make voting difficult, if you impede people's ability to vote, that goes against the Constitution. Again, I'm not against the idea of having IDs for people who are citizens. What I'm against is them making any way to impede people's ability to do it. If you have to pay for the ID, if you have to pay to travel, if you have to do anything, if you have to pay money, if money is a requirement in order to get to get an ID, in order to get whatever they want to be able to vote, it's unconstitutional. Oh yeah, the number of cases of voter fraud is not practically non-existent. And you look at most of them, it's people that voted that didn't realize that they weren't allowed to. How does anyone get an ID? Depends what ID you're talking about. We're talking about the ID the way they want you to prove it in the SAVE Act. Oh, we are absolutely wasting our time on an invisible issue. Hey, Kelly, how are you? Yeah, I think even the Heritage Foundation found out that there were 1,500 over the last like 10 years. I am not against people needing an ID to vote. I'm against anything that makes it cost money or time or travel or just make it difficult to get. Voting is a right, and nothing can impede that right. So if this country wants to put something in place where citizens get something for free and can easily get it, I don't mind that. Not just money, accessibility, time, all the things that make it possible. In this SAVE Act, it would make it near impossible for a woman who took her husband's name to vote, to be registered. Yeah, the thing in Texas, I guess, was they were testing someone talked about it. The New York Times reported that it was, let's see if I can find it quick. They were testing some like drone defense thing or something like that. Yeah, it said 10 days. They ended up already dropping it after like a couple hours. It's already, flying is already allowed again from what I've been told. You lose the ID, then you get another one. Again, voting is a right. You say it's too hard to get an ID. Right now? Yeah, a lot of IDs are really hard to get. And what they're requiring to be able to register is too hard. I don't understand why you can't understand that. You can go get one right this second. No, you can't. not in terms of what they would want for that, and most people wouldn't be able to. Okay. Good luck on that. Good luck on that. If I have a Peruvian birth certificate, a naturalization document with my maiden name, and social security, DLM passport with married name. Yeah. Right, Carla? Took me 2 months to get my Colorado ID. Yeah. Oh, the SAVE Act places tons of barriers. Tons of barriers. Voting is a constitutional right. People don't, again, it has already been shown by people like the Heritage Foundation that that there has been almost no voter fraud in this country over the last 10 or 20 years. You need quite a few documents for the real ID, yes. Oh, you are mistaken? No, I'm not. The Heritage Foundation came out with this information. Not me. The Heritage Foundation. 1,500 over the last 10 years, I believe, is the span that they looked at. $20 years. Thank you, Scott. 1,500 cases over the last 20 years. That's the Heritage Foundation. Got married in another state 23 years ago, divorced nine years ago. Yep. Again, don't have an issue with ID as a whole. I have an issue with a poll tax basically being put on voting. Our elections there's plenty of election integrity already. Pretending that our elections are fraudulent is a complete and utter lie. It is a poll tax if it costs money or in any way impedes a citizen's ability to be able to vote. It is absolutely a poll tax. Voting is a right, not. Again, I never said IDs were bad. I said the way that they're trying to do it is bad. The IDs that they want for this SAVE Act are not free. That's the part you guys don't seem to understand. You are the minority on this issue. No, I'm not. You're just not listening. Community people can come up.
Couple of things. They don't have to listen to us. They can talk to any election attorney. I know a little bit about this myself. There is no substantive voter fraud in America. There wasn't in 2020. There wasn't in 2024. There just wasn't. Most of the cases, as Scott brought up, there's so few over 20 years. You're talking about 45 to 165 million people voting, and they're coming up with what, about 100 cases a year, and most of those are inadvertent. Most of those are simple mistakes. Sorry about the phone.
You're fine.
I don't even know why I have a goddamn landline. It's nothing but fucking telemarketers anyway, and that's all that one was. But there just isn't. This is a red herring issue, folks. It's a total red herring issue.
Yep.
This isn't what we need to worry about. What we need to worry about is there are a couple of things. First and foremost, the case before the Supreme Court. There are between 12 and 19 seats that are minority representation that'll go away if Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is nullified. And and they are gone. There's no coming back from that. This isn't an issue of gerrymandering. There isn't an issue of anything else. Those seats are flat out gone. And almost all of them are in the South, and it'll be between 12 and 19 seats. They are all Democrat, all of them. And they will be gone. And I do believe the Supreme Court is going to rule that way. The second thing is I'm not at all certain. I'm not worried about finagling with the voting machines. I'm worried about something more systemic. And I think the plan that the Republicans are going to do, because they already know that they're going to lose the House, first is the gerrymander. We know all about that. Texas, Missouri, North Carolina, etc. Folks, don't worry about that. I've added the numbers from all the states, plus and minus. We're looking at between 0 and 3 net seats the Republicans can get in a best case scenario. I'm leaving out Florida and Virginia because both of them have some hoops to drop through. We'll have to see what happens. They're both of those states are running out of time. So I think that's more a 2028 issue, but we'll see. I could be wrong. But right now, and if Virginia and Florida both gerrymander, that's going to be a wash too. It's going to be about equal. And you're just not talking a lot of seats. Now let's talk about ICE. ICE, what does that have to do with voting? It has a lot to do with voting. If anybody thinks that the whole purpose of ICE is only about immigration, they're delusional. What is happening here is the Trump administration wants us to get used to seeing people in the streets. It wants to be used to having this paramilitary force in the streets, and it will be. Steve Bannon, once again, sometimes even he slips and tells the truth. ICE is going to be used for voter intimidation. Now, I know what you're going to say. The first thing I said, there are laws against any federal troops anywhere near voting places. They don't have to be near voting places, folks. Have you ever tried to go to vote through a wall of tear gas 3 streets away? Have you ever tried to vote when, for some weird reason on election day, 5 streets a mile out are closed down, where you have to ride around, you can't find a place to park, and you turn around and say, the hell with it. My vote doesn't mean that much. I'm not going to put up with this bullshit.
Or they set up a
That's
checkpoint.
what they're going to try and do. A third thing will be ballot seizures. Now, if you think that Fulton County was all about the 2020 election, you're also delusional. It has to do with Trump's fantasies, but what they're doing is they're testing to see the reaction of seizing ballots. They're testing to see the reaction. If the courts allow that to go through and don't make them turn those ballots back to Fulton County, you are going to see that again, and you're going to see it at scale. And finally, if all else fails, they're going to put election deniers taking actual physical control of the ballots, which is the second step to ballot seizure. Those are the things that I'm worried about in the midterm elections. Am I worried about the Democrats taking the House? No, the numbers are so unbelievable what's going on that I don't think the Republicans have a snowball's chance in hell of winning the House. The only issue is how bad the defeat the Republicans will suffer. And which leads to the third issue. How far is the Trump administration prepared to push this? And I think pretty far.
Yep.
And I don't think, Scott, that people really realize, like that case before the Supreme Court, there was a reason voting safety rights and procedures and stuff like that were voted and put into law in the first place, because states and other places, governments were making it so people could not vote that were citizens of this country. They were stopping people, they were intimidating people. There's a reason why laws were created. And it's really scary to think that, oh, 50, 60 years later, everything is just fine. All those laws that everybody worked hard for, people lost their life for, people bled for, that everything is just fine now and we just need to take it all away. You really need to, I don't think people are paying attention enough.
People aren't paying attention at all. They're overly focused on gerrymandering, and I get it. I'm not being critical of them. I was focused on gerrymandering until I read the numbers. The gerrymandering isn't going to work. It's just not. Minimal amounts of seats changing hands. Zero to 3 seats they'll be able to steal. That's it. And that is going to do nothing to stop the wave. To your point, Kia, the Supreme Court has indicated in a number of decisions, and the big one on Section 2 is coming up, that the Voting Rights Act of 1965 basically isn't needed anymore because, there's no more voter suppression in the United States. That's their view. Therefore, the Voting Rights Act isn't needed, which leads to the question, if you took away the Voting Rights Act, you're inviting voter suppression, which is sort of an oxymoron to what the Supreme Court is arguing. So we'll see how that comes out. I, for one, do not believe in the inherent goodness of man. And if you take away the Voting Rights Act, you're going to see voter suppression.
Delusional criticism.
Blocked immediately, blocked. They don't even get to try again tomorrow. Blocked.
Wrong with people.
What did they say? I missed it.
1 vote per household. Man gets the final decision.
Yeah, that's their new fantasy.
Oh, and not just that though, Scott. The part that Mike was saying when you started talking is he said, and the man gets the final decision.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
So 1 vote per household as opposed to
basically back the way it was before women could vote.
Well, it wasn't 1 vote per household. It was a vote per person. But at any rate, whatever. These people are crazy.
Ducky, those are all choices. Those are not rights given to you by the Constitution of the United States. You don't have to check out a book from the library. You don't have to go to the library. There's nothing in the Constitution that gives you the right to have a library.
And I think the crazy part about it is and speaking, this goes into directly what Scott's been talking about, is that when you start making the excuses as common everyday people for reasons why they should just be able to literally trample over your rights, not the things you like to do, not the things that bring you joy, but your constitutionally given rights, and you start making excuses, you're literally opening the fucking door to just let them just take it all away.
And again, this is the crazy part. These people that are literally voting against their own ability to do things like vote. They believe this reality of voter fraud so much that they cannot see how this will affect them. They literally, and some of them it might not. Some of them, people that have money, people that have all of the things already, people that have a passport already, it's not a big deal to them. They're like, I don't see the problem. But there are lots of people that are for this that don't realize it's going to affect them because they have been somehow convinced that millions of people are voting fraudulently, all Democrat, of course, in this country. It's wild.
Again, the amount of voter fraud in the United States is minuscule. It has never substantively affected any election ever. It's minuscule. This is a red herring argument. It doesn't exist in any real numbers. We're talking about maybe 100 votes out of 100 million, 160 million in a general election.
Well,
And folks, most of those never resulted in conviction because they were inadvertent. They were a mistake, and the mistake was caught. Why do you think we know these numbers? Because the mistakes were caught almost immediately and corrected.
Again, the Heritage Foundation is the one who put out something that said in the last 20 years there have been 1,500 total in 20 years. If you I don't know. It's just wild. This is all wild. I cannot believe this is the friggin' world we live in right now. Hi, Heidi.
Scott, are you trying to speak or getting ready to unspeak? I see you're unmuted, but I don't hear anything coming out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to mute myself.
I just wanted to make sure you weren't like talking, and you know how TikTok loves us so much over here.
I think voting day should be, I think there should be a voting week, and it should be easily accessible for people to go and vote.
Because the thing about it is, they really care. Like, they should be doing it with all the technology and all the things that we have available to us. If anything, they should be doing about the voting stuff. They should be making it easier for us to vote. Something that we can do on our phone. If we can file taxes, we can do our banking, we can do all of that on our phone securely, then we should be able to vote on our phones. And definitely get rid of the electoral college stuff, like for sure. We already know. But it's like it should getting rid of places for people to drop their ballots, especially on Black historically Black campuses. They're taking off drop boxes for the students to be able to drop the boxes. What I don't think that people realize is that, you think about it, some colleges don't allow students below a certain level, like the first 2 years, that even
To
have a car on campus.
Mhm.
So what are they supposed to fly home to be able to vote if they're taking away the drop boxes on campus? How are they going to be able to get somewhere? That's all the little things you have to take into consideration when they're trying to put any kind of stop to you voting.
Look, folks, I don't want you to listen to Mike on this. Really, he's not an expert. I don't want you to listen to me or Kia. If you are worried about voter fraud, I'll give you the lead Republican election expert and also lawyer. He's the one who got Bush the victory in Florida in the year 2000. His name is Benjamin Ginsberg, Ginsberg. He wrote a 75-page paper on election fraud and how minimal it is. He wrote why you can't rig American elections. So don't believe me. Read him. And Trump supporters, he's a Republican. He's worked for the Republicans all along, since back in the Reagan years. He's the nation's leading election expert. And on the Democratic side, that's easy. That's Mark Elias, who's a brilliant lawyer, and you can find him on YouTube. But they will explain it to you in great detail. If you want to take the time to read it, which I doubt you will, you'd rather mouth off about illegals voting and all this other stuff, nonsense that you guys come up with.
Can I I understand what you're saying, but I disagree. There's not just one person. It's him and those surrounded by him. I think there are for sure more than just him that believes that. I mean, they wouldn't have been so ready. I mean, there's literally court cases. There's literally court cases. People have went to jail behind trying to help. I don't think I think you're right in the fact that there is one person for sure, but I do think that there are others. I don't think he's alone.
I am naming the top Republicans so that Republicans in the chat who are spouting nonsense can read from their own tribe that what they are saying is completely false. That is why and he is the nation's leading expert. Yes, there's thousands of lawyers involved in this. Thousands of lawyers involved in election litigation. I've studied election law myself. It's just not that big a problem, folks. Are there fraudulent votes cast? Sure. A handful. And out of a nation of 340 million people, what the hell would you expect? Of course. Most of the cases never end up in prosecution. Really, only a handful do because they're inadvertent. People had mailed in a absentee ballot and legitimately forgot that they did and showed up to the polling place anyway. And those mistakes are caught within minutes or at most a day or two.
Yep.
There's no fraud intended. But what worries me is something worse: affecting an election before it occurs. Gutting Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. That's a big deal, and that's something we should be worried about. Gerrymandering, we should be worried about, but the Republicans fucked it all up, so we don't have to worry about that. ICE worries me a lot. I don't think they're there for deportations. I don't think that they have immigration is one of their duties, but this is all a dry run to get the American people used to seeing them in cities so that they shrug their shoulder and say, well, at least they're not being violent now, so maybe it's okay. They're there for a reason, folks, and it has to do with the election.
Yep.
It has to do with the election. And I'm very concerned anytime the executive branch goes and does ballot seizures. Theoretically, they have no legal grounds to do that on. None. The Constitution leaves elections to the states with certain parameters laid out for Congress. Guess what branch has no authority? Zero, goose egg, zilch in elections? That's the executive branch. The president has no say in how American elections are run. That is by design in the Constitution itself.
Did you see, like, Scott, like, I thought of you when I was it WRL? I saw it on TV yesterday and they were talking about the Fulton County case, and they were talking about how it all came to pass because of quote unquote somebody that supports him that worked there was like told that, like, I'm trying to be careful. I know this is a very sensitive topic on here. All because somebody that is a supporter of him dropped some little words. How much you want to bet that they said, hey, let's find anybody that had anything to do with that personally, see if we can drop them a couple of coins and wrangle them in, and let's see what we can do.
Look, what they did in Fulton County is they forum shopped. You know what the word forum shopping means, right? Everybody? It's where you pick your judge. You already know that this judge leans your way. So you pick him, you bring the case, you get the warrant to seize the ballots. Well, Fulton County's going to appeal,
Which they
and
have.
they're going to end up having to turn back these ballots. They're going to have to end up turning them back. But what do I think Fulton County's really about? I think it's a dry run. They're seeing how upset people get about it, and they're seeing how far they can go, because they are planning to do this at scale, because they know they can't keep the House, and Donald Trump is desperate. He thought gerrymandering would be enough. It wasn't. He's ratcheted it up a notch. And by the way, the whole reason that this warrant was given by the judge, and this judge has got to be one of the dumbest judges God ever put on earth, is this guy actually repeated all the legally debunked theories from 2020 and didn't even have any evidence of intent. You can't issue a warrant for a criminal thing without evidence of intent, and the judge went ahead and did that. I don't know how this stands on appeal. I don't know any appellate court that won't throw this whole thing out. But this is a test run, folks. And that's what we have to be concerned about. And I'm very upset once again with the mainstream media. Oh, they rated a thing. Okay, now in important news, let's see how Quad God did at the Olympics. You know, this is our democracy.
Yeah.
That's it, Scott. And on the other side, Summer had said, it's startling how often people forget that this period was not centuries ago, but within the lifetime of people still alive today that get to vote.
That's the wild thing, is this idea that, to me, that the Voting Rights Act isn't needed anymore when it was not that long ago that it was enacted in the first place.
1965. That's not that long ago.
Nope.
And no, it's not needed. Well, in a purple state, not even Mississippi, not even Louisiana, not even Alabama, in a purple state of Georgia, well, you can't give anybody water. You can't give anybody a snack to eat. We're taking away. How come in my town, I've never waited 1 second to vote in my town, and yet you go up to North Jersey, heavy minority areas, those people are waiting an hour to vote. Why? Why? And this is a blue state.
Yeah.
It's not just in Alabama, folks.
Exactly. It's like you see these, and it's like you hear these stories and you see these stories. You actually see people like looking at people voting, waiting in line for hours. It's ridiculous. That is just ridiculous. Now, I'm lucky that I live in a small enough town that I may have to wait 10 minutes if that. But that's just because there might be a lot of people and there's not quite a lot of, I vote in like a little freaking region, like a little, one of those little buildings where they meet for like clubs and stuff like that. Um, Little teeny tiny building is where I have to go to vote at, and there's just not a lot of room in there. But it's ridiculous to know that it's literally your state. The states are the ones that make those decisions to pull all those things out that are causing people to wait in lines and do all of those things.
Yeah. This is why we need to, I mean, again, we said it about the last election. Obviously, not everyone took it seriously enough, but this is why we need to stay involved, get out and vote, and keep being educated and keep being aware what's going on. I mean, we've got this problem everywhere with everything. America is probably one of the worst when it comes to keeping our eyes on the target, because we get, for valid reasons in some case, we just get tired. But like look at Minneapolis. How many people do you see really talking about Minneapolis anymore? I interact with people that live there. It's no better. Hasn't changed really at all. But a lot of media coverage is gone now that they said that they were going to take 700 people out.
That's what scares me, is that politically speaking, everybody's worried about the violence of ICE, and they're not paying attention. I'm not saying that they're not there to deport people, including citizens, anybody they can grab. You got a brown skin, you're in trouble. I'm not saying that that's not an issue. That's a major issue. But I think that there's a second game being played here, and it has everything to do with the election. And I think if you don't think that having your own private, this is the first president in American history that basically has his own private jackbooted thug army, his own private army to do with as he sees fit. And what he's going to see fit is to get them involved in the election. Yes, I'm well aware of the laws that federal law enforcement cannot be anywhere near a voting place. You can interrupt a voting precinct without having to be at that precinct. You can find a provocation to shoot off tear gas on the main road leading to that. Who's going to drive through that? Maybe all of us here who are determined to vote will put up with it. What about the rest of the people? Suppose they shut down streets a mile, 2 miles, 4 miles away, making it difficult for you to get there. What's your average voter going to do? Hey, honey, look at this. Jesus Christ, we'll be here for 2 hours. Fuck it. Let's go home and watch Netflix. That's what I'm worried about. And if you don't think that they would try that, you haven't been paying attention. Because that's what they're going to try. And if that doesn't work, Fulton County was the test run for what they plan on doing with the ballot boxes. And what the hell is the executive branch doing in control of ballot boxes anyway? Under what rubric do they have the authority to take ballot boxes? Especially, they go to court and get a warrant without showing intent, without even attempting to show intent. I've never heard of that before. That's an element of the crime that you must show to get a warrant.
The husband cop, Google is what you use to help find sources.
Kia don't play those kind of games. You can try again tomorrow. But don't be in here being disingenuous. You know. And if you don't know, then I'm sorry for you. But that's not Jobs. It is not Scott's job to tell you where to look up information that everybody else in this country that wants to know knows about. You could try again tomorrow.
Why? He said something to me? I missed it.
He wants a source that to where citizens were deported.
Huh? What's that have to do with what I'm talking about? I'm talking about voting.
It doesn't. That's why I deleted it. That's why I said what I said. It doesn't. He was just being here being an ass.
Thank you, Kia.
You're welcome. That's why I just delete that stuff. Sometimes everybody doesn't have to see it because it doesn't always deserve a reply. It doesn't deserve the energy it's going to take for your brain cells to try to help him out, Scott, for it to even go there. We're not doing that.
So
by the way, you're looking for, isn't Mr. Garcia here legally? He was deported.
Yeah, they don't consider people here legally. Anyways, we don't.
Whatever. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the whole citizen thing. Folks, if you're worried about the whole citizen thing, I got a great idea. Read the 14th Amendment. Okay?
Silver, no, they don't have the manpower at scale to do it, but they don't need the manpower at scale. They will focus on areas that that have the best chance of either flipping or going blue in the first place, and that is where they will focus the agents.
Exactly. It's not as if the Republicans don't know how to read electoral maps. They have 435 maps. They know which ones that are in danger, and there's only about 40 to 45 of them anyway. There's less than 10% of the seats in danger for them, and they know which ones they are, and that's what you have to worry about, those seats.
Now, that being said, if what happened in Texas is even a smidgen of a sign of the future, that could mean nothing. If deep red districts are flipping, this is why we say how important it is. This is why we keep saying how important it is that people get out and vote, that people have conversations, that people stay informed on what's going on. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I got 5 interviews today. Why I'm doing what I'm doing. For those of you that if that are in North Carolina, early voting for the primaries starts tomorrow. I just posted another video of someone who's running in North Carolina that needs to get through the primaries. This is why all of this stuff is so important. If they're going to make assumptions on where is going to flip, if things keep going the way they're going, it's completely possible that places that they thought were completely fine flip.
No, as an example of that, the Democrats are targeting 37 red seats. That's what they're targeting. They just jacked it up to 42. They just added 5 more red seats that are red from 10 to 15 points that they were going to leave alone, and now they're targeting them, based precisely on what we saw in Texas and based what we saw in Louisiana District 60, where the flip was even bigger than Texas. There you had a flip of 37 points. Yeah, 37 points in District 60. Trump won it by 13. The Democrat won by 62 to 38. 62 to 38. 24 points the Democrat won by for a flip of 37 points. Folks, there ain't a whole lot of districts that aren't going to be. And admittedly, the Democrats do have a built-in advantage in special elections because of the small turnout. You get highly motivated voters. You usually have voters. There's a what's known as the diploma divide between voters. Voters with a lot of education tend to vote Democrat. Voters with lesser education tend to vote Republican. And in special elections, you get a very highly educated electorate. So do the Democrats have a built-in advantage in special elections? Sure they do, but that's only about 6 points. That's only about 6. That doesn't explain the 37-point flip.
Carla, if Mitch McConnell passes no in 2022, I believe,
2024.
The Kentucky legislature passed a law that says that if any senator leaves during their term, that the replacement has to come from the same party.
That's incorrect. That's what I said, and Juju on somebody else's comment. The 2024, that was the previous law. And in 2024, the governor is iced out completely. What happens now is that he has to call a special election. So the seat will remain vacant until the special election is held.
Okay.
But yeah, I went after the creator who posted the post. He said, "Oh, we're going to get a free Democratic seat." I said, "No, there has to be 3 Republicans named by the Republican Party, and the governor must choose from one of those 3. That was what was thrown out in 2024.
Oh, that was thrown out.
In 2024, they threw that out and said the governor has no say in the matter except for called the date that he sets the special election for.
Gotcha.
So it's changed. You were right, and I was right. And Juju said, "Scott, I don't think you're right." I looked it up. I didn't know that in 2024 they went back to a whole third way of doing it.
Someone's saying
but
that
Juju was wrong. I was wrong, and she was right that I was wrong. But what she said was also wrong. None of us knew about the 2024 law.
According to Missy, Bondi is crashing out right now.
There's a lot of people saying there's a couple different comments I've seen about it.
Mr. Jordan, am I going to get an extra 45 seconds added to my time?
Can I bring up something that's adjacent that's also worrying me, and it's been in the news? It's not about elections, but it is about corruption.
Can I say something real quick before you do that?
Sure.
Before we get any further away, going back to what we were talking about, y'all, really look into early voting and voting by mail if possible, and what you need to do that. If you make sure, don't forget they're changing rules when it has to come due with the post office and when things are going to be stamped and received and all of those things. But really, really look into that right now. Like, because like Mike's thing says, early voting starts in North Carolina tomorrow. So please look into all the things that you need to do and make sure and if you need help, then we need to figure out ways to reach out to people and see if we can't find people to help you.
And the other thing before you even do that, make sure that you're still registered. Sometimes people are bounced off the voter registration rules. I'm not saying that's anything nefarious. Sometimes it's just a mistake, but it happens more often than you think. So please make sure that you're still registered. And in terms of mail voting, the day you get your ballot, fill it out. Don't let it sit there on your kitchen table. The day you get it out, fill it out. And what I would recommend is take it to the post office yourself. Take the drive, bring it right to the post office.
I just put on the thing and I've been reading the closed captionings. This is wild. It is the largest amount of bullshit I have ever seen in my life. She just spent 5 minutes sitting here saying basically just saying that that Trump has basically made this country perfect. There's nothing wrong. Everybody's happy. Everything is great. And it's just wild.
Yeah, that's why he has a 36% approval rating, because everybody's just thrilled to death with him. What I was going to talk about is what has come out in the half release of the e-files is that there was apparently a nexus between Mr. Epstein and Vladimir Putin. Not in terms of the girls, although he certainly tried to get some from Russia. That isn't what is concerning to me. Anybody who knows anything about Russian foreign policy, and this is not only under Mr. Putin, it was under his communist predecessors. It dates back to 1917. It goes beyond that. It goes back to the Cheka under the Tsars before 1917. Russia will pay big money to gather information about prominent people in other countries that they view as adversaries. They like to get that information. We also know that Mr. Epstein had hidden cameras all over the place. What if Mr. Epstein, in addition to collecting the rich and famous to be his buddies through his nefarious acts, was also gathering information on them and giving it to Mr. Putin, which means, of course, that Mr. Xi, President Xi in China, also has this information. That sets up Russians' love to blackmail people. And it is horrifying to me and demands immediate congressional attention as to whether the President of the United States is being blackmailed by Vladimir Putin. It would explain an awful lot.
I saw a video of someone who was in the Russian government or something like that, saying that he believed, or I don't know if he just believed it or if he had any facts on it, but according to him, Jeffrey was basically just an information person, and he would sell it to anybody and everybody.
Well, the Russians have a long history, whether it be the FSB, which is what we would know as the KGB was the predecessor organization. Before that, it was the NKVD. Before that, it was the Cheka. And they keep huge files on not just politicians, any prominent person, business person, entertainer, didn't matter. They would pay big money to get information on people, and Russia has a long history of blackmailing foreign politicians and other influencers in foreign countries. And as you know, it's been alleged for a long time, even before the Steele dossier, that they had information on Trump and were using it.
Yeah.
And note, there's no tariffs on Russia, is there? He takes Russia's position in the Ukraine war, doesn't he? And the trade deal we just had with China is so one-sided in China's favor, it's ridiculous. Why? That's my question. And you all know me here. I'm the one who beats down conspiracy theories. I'm not saying that this is the case. What I am saying is this is the greatest national security breach potentially ever and needs to be looked into immediately. I don't have to explain how inconceivable it is and how horrific it would be if we had a president of the United States being subject to blackmail by a foreign leader.
Mm-hmm. You can tell the word has gone out that this hearing is getting wild. The numbers are like shooting up on people watching it right now. When I turned it on 10 minutes ago, it was at like 14,000 watching. It's at 21 now. It's crazy.
Get yourself a good criminal lawyer on your way out the door, Miss Bondi. Make sure before you leave the Justice Department, make sure you have the best criminal lawyer on your Rolodex that you can get.
The AP has it, Johnny, on the tube. Watch it.
I just put it on my TV. I'm actually watching another creator streaming it live on the tube, on my TV, and then I got you on the tube on my iPad, on my phone.
I mean, I can stream it if people want to watch it.
Yeah, put it on.
All right.
And it really does nothing to bring credit to your department. And, Mr. Chairman, I would yield back.
Gentlelady yields back.
May I answer?
Attorney General can respond.
I find it interesting that she keeps going after President Trump, the greatest president in American history.
Oh my
and
gosh.
if they could maintain their composure. This isn't a circus. This is a hearing.
Ridiculous.
I find it
cannot
interesting she
stand
keeps
her.
going
I'm
after
already
Donald
mad.
Trump. She doesn't say how much money she took from Reid Hoffman, did you? None. And nor did
Mr.
she
Chairman,
post
regular
anything.
order, please.
She
Regular order.
posted nothing on her X account, on her Twitter account during the Biden years.
Gentlelady.
Yet now, all of a sudden,
question
she's
asked.
going after
Committee will be in
point of
order.
There was no
Committee will be
question
in
asked
order.
of the Attorney General. She doesn't just get to
Committee will be in order.
I have a
Mike,
point
do
of
I have
order,
to
Mr.
drop down to
Chairman.
hear it?
Committee
Yeah,
will be in
probably.
order.
Point of order,
Okay,
Mr.
could you
Chairman.
bounce me?
State a
Yep.
point of order.
When a witness attacks,
Not a valid point of order. You got to state.
She hasn't completed her
No
point of order yet.
decorum
Please let her
at
speak,
all.
Mr. Chairman. Let's have some
None.
regular order here.
Regular order is
Mike,
you
do
got
I
to
have
state
to
the
drop
rules.
down?
I am trying to make a point of order that the witness,
And what
without
rule are you referring to?
without responding to a question, has attacked me personally. I think it's pathetic that she can't answer the questions and
First
instead
time
is attacking
that is not even close
members
to a
of the
point of
committee.
order. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
In August of last year, I sent a letter to the Department of Justice asking for assistance in seeking compensation for the town of Lac du Flambeau. Town of Lac du Flambeau is in my district, and your office replied that it was an ongoing matter and unable to comment on it, which I understand. That's just fine. But I want to set this up just as a reminder. So 3 years ago, it was at this time of year that 4 roads were blockaded in the town of Lac du Flambeau, and the temperature was 25 below zero. People had to park their cars at a neighbor's place, take the snowmobile across the lake to get their car, and then be able to drive into town. There were people 80 and 90 years old that could not, were very concerned that they'd be able to get emergency medical services. And the perpetrators of this, the tribe out there, they demanded compensation from the town. I would call it extortion. They ultimately got $600,000 from the town of Lac du Flambeau. The unfortunate part, Mr. Chairman, is that the Biden administration took the side
What
of
does
the
this have to do with the
perpetrators
e-files?
who closed those roads off, and the Biden administration made it clear to the town of Lac du Flambeau that we are not on your side in regards to this. Well, fortunately, there was a federal judge that said, no, this is wrong, what happened, and these roads should be left open, they should continue to be left open. My question to you is, are you willing to work with my office and with the town of Lac du Flambeau to further investigate this matter and seek compensation from the tribal government after their extortion of $600,000 from this little town in northern Wisconsin.
Congressman, you do a great job representing your district. And yes, we would more than welcome working with you, and we are familiar with that investigation.
Mr. Chairman, I would just add, we're highlighting these miscarriages of justice in the previous administration. This is just another one of those small examples, no different than the Catholic Diocese in Richmond and many others that you have retold so many times. But here's another instance of what they did to a small town and nearly bankrupted them as a
I
result
thought this
of it.
was supposed to be
Fortunately,
about
there's
the
another federal judge
files.
that saw through it and has fixed
Yep.
it.
What the fuck does
I'll
tribal
move on to
roads
fraud
have to do with the
enforcement. You
files?
establish a National Fraud Enforcement Division, is that correct, Madam Attorney General?
Yes, Congressman.
Has this new division begun any investigations and getting after those individuals that
Yeah,
have
Roxanne.
committed
This guy is
the rampant fraud we've seen like in Minnesota?
Well, it's not only rampant in Minnesota, it's rampant throughout this country. Much of it is in California, as you know, and other places. Yes, we are working on it actively. Our criminal fraud division has been working on it. We are expanding that. It was the Vice President's idea to come up with this amazing separate fraud division, which we are establishing and
Yeah.
going nonstop, not
There
only
you
to
are.
expose the fraud in Minnesota.
You got no
but
lawyers,
around
but,
the
you know.
country. It's taxpayer dollars that have been
that you're
stolen,
wasting. Yep, you are
from the
wasting
American
so many
people. We are
taxpayer
committed
dollars.
to recovering that money and holding those people accountable.
Mr. Chairman, I would remind everyone here, why did this happen in Minneapolis? Why did federal law enforcement have to go to Minneapolis? Because of industrial scale fraud. It was
False.
an assistant United States attorney that said, this is industrial scale fraud that's going on in Minnesota at this point.
False.
I sent a letter to our governor in Wisconsin. We're right across the border there. My district is only 20 miles from the city of Minneapolis. And I asked him to open the books for a federal audit on food stamps and Medicaid. Don't you think it would be a good idea for every governor to do that at this point?
It protects the citizens, and I can't understand why that's not happening. And yes, I do think that's a great idea. It's happening around this country. And when our new division with Colin McDonald is established, it's established when Colin is confirmed. He's amazing. I think you've met with him, you said, Chairman. When that is established, we're going to work on both sides of the aisle. That's what we want
Yeah,
to
right.
do to
Bullshit.
stop fraud in every
Bullshit.
city, in every state in this country. We will continue to fight for the American
So
people.
you would encourage every governor across the United States, after what we have seen in
They all get a
Minnesota,
certain amount
what
of
we
time, Silver.
almost certainly know is happening in other states. You mentioned California. You would agree that every governor should avail themselves of federal resources to make sure that this industrial scale fraud is rooted out to protect the taxpayers of the United States. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Tennessee is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to thank you for holding this hearing and holding it in a proper fashion as you have. Secondly, I'd like to thank all of the victims of the Epstein case who've come here to attend this hearing, for doing it and for being brave and trying to move this justice forward. I apologize, I can't do it, but the Attorney General not recognizing you, that's embarrassing. I am from Memphis, General Bondi, and Memphis does have the task force there. The Memphis Safe Task Force has been operating in Memphis for several months, and we do have a Democratic Mayor, Paul Young, and he's not against the task force, but he is against ICE being in Memphis, and he's not in favor of the National Guard being in Memphis. And I concur with him on those positions. I think the DEA being there, the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, the FBI, who have been in Memphis in other ways, having more people there is good for Memphis. Crime has gone down in Memphis, but it went down 25% before the task force got there under the direction of Mayor Young and Director Davis, Chief Davis. It's gone down about 15% more since then, and that's good. But I would like to comment that Mexico City's homicide rate has gone down 40% during the same time, when Memphis has only gone down 25%, and that's not necessarily because of the task force, although the mayor says he thinks it's helped. So I thank you for that. You would agree, I presume, that violent crime in communities across our country is critically important, and that's why the task force is there. Is that not true?
Yes, and if I can just add to that, I think the surge, the FBI, our FBI under the leadership of Director Patel came in and did a surge in Memphis.
Earlier.
Prior to the task force.
Yeah, Viper.
And thank you for saying that about Mayor Young. He's been great to work with, and thank you.
He's a good guy.
He's a very good guy.
One problem I've got with where we are in priorities here. A recent Department of Justice, National Institute of Justice report based on arrest records in Texas and in California found that undocumented immigrants were less than half as likely as U.S.-born Americans to be arrested for homicide. And this pattern holds for assault, sexual assault, robbery, burglary, theft, and arson. Half as likely to be arrested for drug offenses. So I ask you, and I've written to you about this, there are TV ads that run that say to local law enforcement, specifically, says, are you tired of having your hands handcuffed because you can't do the things you wanted to do when you joined? And if you want to do something different, join ICE, and you'll get a $50,000 bonus, and we'll pay off your debts, student debts, and we'll help you with pensions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they're encouraging local law enforcement to leave local law enforcement and go to work for ICE. We need people working in the front lines and local law enforcement to protect our citizens from the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst are not the immigrants. The worst of the worst records show are native-born Americans, and they are committing crimes that hurt
Amen.
our citizens and our cities, and you're working against it, and thank you
Amen.
for that. But by trying to get our local law enforcement, where we have an undercount of officers in Memphis, to leave Memphis and go to work for ICE to deport people is a wrong priority. Why are we trying to get people, policemen who are working on the front lines, to leave the front lines, take the $50,000 and go to work for ICE and instead of working to fight the worst of the worst?
Congressman, I have not yet seen that commercial, that ad. I would argue that we need strong people in both local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and all of our federal agencies working together. I've seen some of the worst violent criminals who were in this country illegally. We both know that. And in Memphis, working hand in hand, I want to stick with Memphis and your mayor and what you discussed, because there have been nearly 6,000 arrests as of February 8th, and I think you agree with this, in your district, and almost 600 gang members. What we found in Memphis, a lot of the gangs are local gangs. But 600 gang members were taken off the streets.
My time, because I've only 40 seconds. I'm going to agree with you.
Yeah.
I thank you for that.
And 148 missing children were
What part of reclaim my time aren't you hearing?
Working together, and nearly 1,000 illegal guns were seized as a result of us working together.
And I don't disagree with some of the things you said, but there are questions about those children, but it's a different thing. The fact is, ICE is running rampant, and you are not investigating them. When they killed Mr. Prete, and Miss Good, that was an execution, and you did not investigate it. And you tried to investigate Miss Good's widow, and you tried to investigate Mr. Prete. They were executed like Kristi Noem executed her dog. And that was wrong. And you should investigate those people, and you should investigate anybody that uses a weapon, federal official or not, for civil rights violations. I yield back the balance.
Gentleman yields back his time. Madam Attorney General, anytime you need a break, just let us know. If not, we'll just keep going. The chair is now recognized for 5 minutes. Madam Attorney General, you're not allowed to exercise your constitutional rights in a way that tramples on someone else's, are you?
No.
No, you can't do that. I mean, you have a right to petition the government under the First Amendment. That doesn't mean you can come into this room and start screaming at Mr. Raskin or me or anybody else and disrupt a congressional hearing. You have a right to protest on the street, but that doesn't give you a right to go into the Capitol and disrupt Congress. Something these guys talk about every day. You can't do that. So when Don Lemon said that he was exercising his First Amendment free press rights, freedom of the press rights,
walk into a church, yes.
that's not really accurate, because he was
It
trampling
is.
on other
No, he
individuals'
wasn't.
rights.
He walked in.
Is that true?
He did nothing else. Bullshit.
Chairman, we will always protect our churches and the freedom of religion. And yes, that's accurate.
First right mentioned under the First Amendment, freedom of religion, freedom to practice your faith the way you think the good Lord wants you to, right?
That's
Oh my
right, under the
gosh.
federal government.
And isn't it true that Mr. Lemon,
As a
met
Christian
at a
myself,
shopping
this is
center with the
disgusting, and I
rioters
want them
who
to
entered
shut
City's
up
church in
so
St.
much.
Paul, met with them prior to marching to the church?
Him knowing that they're
He
doing
did
it
meet,
does
and
not mean that
this
he
is
was a part
pending
of
case
it.
right now, so I will only stick to what is in the four corners of the unsealed indictment, if I could, Chairman.
Yeah, I'm
There's
focused
a lot more that will
Not
come
only
out,
that,
but
like,
under the four corners of the
They
indictment.
why weren't the churches
yes, he
so
did. They had an
so sacred when it
operation
came to
called
them trying to
Operation
get folks?
Pull-Up.
Why aren't schools
They said
sacred
they
when
were
they're trying to
gearing
get folks?
for
This shit is
resistance.
ridiculous.
They met in a parking lot and they caravanned to a church on a Sunday morning when people were worshiping together.
And Mr. Lemon said that he live streamed before entering the church
Yes.
with the rioters.
Yep.
Didn't he say we're going to head to the operation? Didn't he say this on? He said this on camera. Is that right?
Yes, Chairman,
Yeah.
and more.
That he was in
So?
Minnesota, and that, as you said, they were gearing up for an operation.
Oh my gosh.
So you can't do that. This is why.
Yes, you
I think,
can.
So important that this guy be held accountable, and I think
Yes,
why you guys
you
have
can.
charged him and indicted him. Moving to a second
Piece of
subject here.
shit.
Will John Brennan be indicted? Mr. Brennan lied to the committee, which you're not supposed to do. Last Congress, when we deposed him, he definitely, 18 U.S.C. 1001, we're all familiar with it. He lied to the committee, and the committee, the Congress, and I think the country would like to know if, in fact, he's going to be indicted for lying. And here's why it's so important. I'll give you a chance to respond. Here's why it's so important. It wasn't just that he lied to us, it's what he lied to us about. He lied to us about when all this weaponization against the President of the United States started.
Oh my
Lied
gosh.
to us about the
Why the
dossier,
fuck
and
are we still
specifically
talking about this?
What role the dossier played in the intelligence community assessment. Because we know back when President Trump was first elected, first term, this is when it all started, which led to the Mueller and to the impeachment and to the Jack Smith and all the stuff that's happened in the last decade. But it began here, and he lied to Congress about the role he played. And I just want to read a couple of things he said during that deposition before I give you a chance to respond. Mr. Brennan, when asked a question, said the CIA was not involved at all with the dossier. He said it was their purview, FBI's purview, and not ours. He also said the CIA was very much opposed to having any reference or inclusion of the Steele dossier in the intelligence community assessment. Well, that's interesting because declassified information that was declassified this past summer by the CIA says something entirely different. It says, Brennan, I want to put this one up if we have it. It says, Brennan ultimately formalized his position in writing, stating that, quote, this is released by the CIA Director Ratcliffe, my bottom line is that what I believe that information warrants inclusion in the report. He was further asked by an CIA official. The same officer said when he approached the director and asked that the director refused to remove it after being explained this wasn't good. With the dossier's many flaws, he said, yes, but doesn't it ring true? So this is John Brennan using that document to change intelligence community assessment, which I think led to all the stuff we've seen over the last decade. And I think this committee in the country, Congress in the country, would like to know if Mr. Brennan is going to be indicted.
What I can confirm is that we have received a referral from you, Chairman Jordan, to investigate John Brennan. His attorneys have made some public
she
statements.
knows the questions
The
that they're going to
department is
ask
still
her.
bound, of course, by our longstanding policy of not discussing matters. What I will say today, I can't confirm nor deny whether there is a pending
I
investigation.
can't confirm.
What I will say is no one is above the law.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Weaponization has ended.
Yeah.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman from New York is recognized for a point of order.
If we want to know whether Mr. Brennan will be indicted, you should just ask the president.
Not a point of order, but I appreciate you trying to make it one. The gentleman from Georgia is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Bondi, it's been reported that there were at one point 1,000 personnel assigned to the task of identifying and scrubbing Donald Trump's name from the Epstein files.
Notice one group is the only one talking about the
reports,
Epstein files, and the other
accurate?
group isn't talking about it at all.
I believe his name has appeared countless times in the documents
how
that
many
have
people were
been released.
assigned?
If I could,
No,
finish,
no,
I'm
answer the
going to
damn
read you
question,
stats.
I
lady.
just simply asked whether or not it was true that it was 1,000 folks who were assigned that task. Were those reports accurate?
There are more than 500 attorneys and reviewers. I cannot give you an exact number.
And
Who-
I
I'm
wanted
trying
to
to
ask
answer-
you.
I'm
I
answering
wanted
your
to
Nope,
ask you
question.
that you
about
answered.
also because
You
Who
gave
were
the
assisting
answer.
with
question
the
that
Shut
you
up,
project?
Pam.
There were 500 DOJ
At
lawyers and others assigned the task of redacting the appropriate information, including identities of the Epstein victim survivors from the Epstein files prior to their release. 500, is that correct?
If I could have finished my answer, there
Well,
were more
you
than
just- I'm
500
just-
attorneys and reviewers who
Okay.
assisted
All right, okay.
with the. They
That
asked a
answers
question and they don't want an answer.
That answers my question,
Congressman,
ma'am,
let
and
me
I'm going to
continue.
move on.
More than.
I'm going to move on.
From
General
multiple
Bondi, would you
You will be in
agree?
order.
This
Time
is
belongs.
ridiculous.
The time belongs to the gentleman from Georgia.
General Bondi, would you agree that your 8 years of service as the state of Florida's Attorney General, the third largest state in the nation, served as an excellent preparation for your current role as Attorney General for the United States of America?
Not only that, I was a career prosecutor for 18
Just
years.
answer the damn
18
question,
years.
lady.
For 18
Prior to
years,
being
for 18
He
years,
asked a
you
question and doesn't
prosecuted.
want an answer.
No,
This
you're
is
not
theatrics.
answering.
No, for 18 years, you
on.
prosecuted serious felony cases, including drug cases, correct?
Oh, I prosecuted homicides. I prosecuted capital cases. I prosecuted domestic violence cases. I prosecuted
Congratulations.
multiple
Do you want a
cases, and
cookie,
that's why
lady?
I feel for all of these victims.
Oh,
And
give me
you
a
asked
break. You don't
Merrick
feel for the
Garland,
victims. You just feel for protecting Donald Trump.
Prosecuted sexual assault cases and child sex trafficking cases, correct?
I answered that question earlier. I
Okay.
prosecuted
All right.
multiple cases
so
when I
bottom
was
line,
a prosecutor.
bottom
If I
line,
can
you're an
answer the question.
experienced.
You just said you already answered it.
Mr. Chairman, will you remind her of the rules? The time belongs to the member of the committee.
You
think
are
I've
a
said that a few
seasoned
times.
and experienced prosecutor, correct?
Just answer it.
I think we've established that.
Yes or no?
Does he want an answer or not?
A yes or no
Yes
answer.
or no answer.
A yes or no.
Yes or no answer, but I'll live with what you have already said.
Oh my
Let
gosh.
me ask you this question.
Clearly
In
you
the
don't have any.
prosecution of sexual assault cases, you are acutely aware of how important it is to protect the identity of victims of sexual assault.
You just don't know how to answer a damn question, lady.
I have addressed this multiple times. I think others were cutting me off when I was trying
Well,
to.
I just simply asked, are you aware of the fact that it's vitally important to protect the identity
Just say
of
yes or
sexual assault
no.
victims as you prosecute the people they accuse of assaulting them? Isn't that correct?
Excuse me. As we have said multiple times,
Protection of the
protection
identity
of all victims
of the victims
are
is
protected.
so very
Who are
important.
protected under? Do you want me to answer or do you want to interrupt?
Well, because you're not answering the question, you do a Jekyll and Hyde kind of routine around here. And
Thank
I
you.
just want you to answer my questions.
What does Jekyll and Hyde mean? Can
Well,
you
it
explain
means
that?
you're nice to the
Explain that.
Republicans and you turn like Hyde on Democrats. But let me ask you this, ma'am. We have the Epstein victim survivors here today. Representative John
Yeah, she
Paul
answers
asked
nice and quick
simple
when the
question, if you would be
Republicans
so
ask
kind
questions.
and honorable as to turn around and face them
Very
and
fast.
apologize to them
Yes.
for outing them. I mean,
Yes.
how much
No.
how many lives have been derailed because your department was either sloppy and incompetent or willfully trying to intimidate and punish these ladies for
time is
coming
up.
forward?
The time of the
Shut
gentleman,
up,
the time of
Pam.
the gentleman has expired. The gentleman yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Wisconsin.
Gosh, I cannot stand
for
that
5
lady.
minutes.
Attorney General Bondi, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have spent the past several months attacking the administration for doing exactly what the American people wanted when they overwhelmingly elected
They
President
didn't
Trump.
overwhelmingly elect
Securing
Trump.
our border and enforcing our immigration
Piece of
laws.
shit.
I find it a bit ironic because this is the same party who just a few years ago were openly supporting strong immigration enforcement after witnessing criminal illegal aliens wreak havoc on the American communities. I have a short video I just wanted to play.
Of immigrants. We're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws, and I believe that they must be held accountable.
They've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked, they're gone.
No great nation can be in a position where they can't control their borders.
While we need to address the issue of immigration and the challenge we have of undocumented people in our country, we certainly don't want any more coming in.
Every place in this country are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens.
Illegal immigration is wrong, plain and simple. When we use phrases like undocumented workers, we convey a message to the American people that their government is not serious about combating illegal immigration, which the American people overwhelmingly oppose. If you don't think it's illegal, you're not going to say it.
I like how he's advertising for himself in the top corner of this video.
You know, there's a lot of poverty in this world, and you're going to have people from all over the world, and I don't think that's something that we can do at this point. Can't do it.
Yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked, and circumventing the line of people
they
who are
think this
waiting
is a gotcha.
patiently, diligently, and lawfully to become immigrants in this country.
They don't understand how many videos that we
So
can
Attorney General Bondi,
show of their stuff.
what's the Trump administration, DOJ, doing to end the open border policies of the prior administration that saw dangerous drugs and criminal aliens flood our communities?
Congressman, President Trump has worked tirelessly, as you know, to close.
Oh, he's
our
tired, all
border,
right.
Which is what the Democrats had asked for in that video. President Trump closed our borders on day one. He is protecting Americans.
No, he's not.
Protecting our kids from the
Alex
influx
Preddy.
of drugs that were flowing into this country from
Renee
Mexico.
Good.
The fentanyl precursors that were coming from China. These precursors
Keith.
were taken from China.
I cannot remember his
into
last name.
Mexico. And in
Porter?
Mexico, they were mixed and freely taken right into our country, along with gang members, MS-13, TDA,
Okay, I had it
freely
right.
coming into our cities around our country. Thanks to Joe Biden's open border policies. That
up!
has stopped under Donald Trump.
Mm.
It will no longer happen under this administration, and he is doing everything to keep Americans safe.
No, he's
And
not.
let me
He's doing
continue.
everything
When
to
he
make
was
himself
elected
rich.
Overwhelmingly by the American people,
He was not
the
selected
majority of the
overwhelmingly. Stop
American
using that
people
word.
wanted
I do
Donald
not think
Trump. One of the
it
main
means what you
reasons
think
was
it
border
means.
security and keeping Americans
1.5%
safe.
is
And
not
that's
overwhelming.
Exactly what he did, and that's why today the other side sits here. They yell, they cut me off.
Aw,
wanna
they
yell,
cut
wanna
you
ask a
off.
question and don't want answers.
Poor baby.
because They want to distract from all the great things.
He's
that
done
this
nothing good.
president and this
He's done nothing
administration
good.
working
Nothing
hand
good.
in hand, and that includes
Nothing good.
Secretary No, who has
Nothing
closed
good.
our borders, and
Nothing
Tom Homan,
good.
who has closed our
Nothing
borders
good.
to keep Americans safe, and they're
Nothing
trying to
good.
distract from that, and they're not going to do it because
They're
the
not
American
gonna
people
do
are
it.
smarter than that, and they see through their theatrics.
You're not going to do it.
Thank you. Just quickly, yesterday, Senator Grassley reached out to my office to tell me that I was one of the 20 members that was now disclosed were under surveillance from Jack Smith. This brings up the question of
Notice they're still not
non-disclosure
talking about
orders
the
and whether or not they
e-files.
should apply to members of Congress. But with my phone records being surveilled, as well as looks like 19 other members of Congress, I'm just wondering how DOJ views that.
Time is, gentleman's expired, but the gentlelady can respond.
As I stated earlier, Congressman, anyone's records who were illegally obtained.
Oh, you're perfectly
Democrat or
fine in
Republican,
repeating
we will
yourself
fight
when a
vigorously
Republican
to
asks you
stop
the
that.
same question.
Anything with
Isn't that
Arkansas,
interesting?
I can't discuss right now.
And isn't it true, Madam Attorney General, the DOJ has changed their policy? You can't do that now. The DOJ is not going to go do that and ask the judge for an NDO.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. That in and of itself tells you why how wrong it was.
That doesn't tell you anything.
From California.
Great, thank you. Madam Attorney General, you acknowledged earlier to Mr. Johnson that President Trump was mentioned and the release countless times, you said, in the Epstein files. I just want to play a video, though, for you that I think speaks to the frustration that many of these victims have. Of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not released anyone's name in the Epstein files that has not been credible.
Director, could it at
we have
least be 1,000
released
times?
every piece of legally permissible information.
Okay,
you can
so-
characterize the numbers however you want it.
Claiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times. Which
It's not.
leads me-
It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number.
I understand why the victims are frustrated, and the Attorney General acknowledged what Mr. Patel would not acknowledge, that it was way more than 1,000 times. But I want to move, Madam Attorney General, to weaponization of government. And yesterday it was reported that 6 members of Congress had indictments sought against him, and they were not returned by a grand jury. My colleagues have spoken about their frustration of being in subpoenas and having cell phone records combed through. Well, in 2017 and 2018, Adam Schiff and I had our cell phone records and email records combed through, not by you, but a different Department of Justice under the president. It was in retaliation for our role in the Russia interference campaign. An Inspector General report would find this improper and that the predicate for it was absurd. In 2020, after sitting on 2 committees that were a part of the
It's not
president's
even
first
actual
impeachment,
phone
an
records,
FBI
Kelly.
agent leaked my cooperation in a national security case where my campaign
They
was
act
targeted.
like they knew
The
exactly
president's
who they talked
FBI
to and
senior
what they
leadership
said. They
authorized 2
didn't.
statements to the press that said I was never suspected of wrongdoing and only helped the investigation. But that didn't stop the death threats or my GOP colleagues from referring me to an ethics investigation where Kevin McCarthy's chairman on the ethics committee would find the same thing as the FBI. Our current FBI director would then write a book called Government Gangsters and identify a long list of enemies. About a quarter of them have been either investigated or indicted. He listed me at the very top, along with Adam Schiff, and during that same testimony, refused to recuse himself when asked if he would recuse if any case came across his desk involving me or people on that list. Since that testimony, his department has put me under investigation with Senator Schiff for the nonsense mortgage fraud cases that we've seen. I get it. This is what the president does. I've priced it in. We have a bingo card at home that my kids have made of what will come next. I expected that the president would come after his enemies. But what I want to talk to you next is serious, and I did not expect this would happen, and I'd like your help on it. The president has inspired death threats against me and many sitting up here with me. In June 2025, an individual left 11 voicemails at my district office. On the voicemails, they said, "Get the message to him. I'm gonna hunt him down, that motherfucker, and toss his ass over the Golden Gate Bridge by my fucking self." Donald Trump's Department of Justice in the Northern District of California declined to prosecute. On May 14, 2025, on Twitter, responding to something I posted, an individual said, "No, it wasn't Eric, and now I'm going to kill you." The Department of Justice from the Southern District of Texas declined to prosecute. May through December of 2025, we received messages at my office that said, "I hope somebody shoots you and your children and your wife in the head. Pew, pew, motherfucker, pew, pew." I would stay indoors as much as possible, and my children, unfortunately, have to do that. The Department of Justice has not charged this individual and cited that he's a prolific caller and has health conditions, although what we have found in our own investigation and his voicemails is that he has said he will employ others to do this. The president can come after me. It's fine. I'm in the arena. So are these folks. But we never expected that the Department of Justice would not seek to prosecute and investigate those who are making threats against us. And that would include those on that side of the aisle. And I'm just asking for your help to protect life, because life is at risk with the environment we're in right now.
Congressman, I completely agree with you. I know about several of those personally involving you. I believe one has been charged publicly, and there's something I would be happy to talk to you about off camera, but I can assure you that they are very serious. They are being looked into, and I can give you more details on those. None of you should be threatened, ever. None of your children should be threatened. None of your families should be threatened. And I will work with, you can come into my office any day. I will work with all of you on both sides of the aisle if you are ever threatened. And I'll gladly talk to you after this hearing about your cases. But I can tell you some of them are very active.
Appreciate that. Now yield back.
Gentleman yields back, and we're sorry for what the gentleman and his family have had to go through. We appreciate what the Attorney General said, and I think some of the things that the gentleman from California related, we can all relate to, and it's unfortunate, it's wrong, as the Attorney General said, and we appreciate the help we get from the Justice Department. With that, we will now recognize the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Van Drew.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't know where to begin. Thank you for being here, General. You might see me when I'm right in front of you. I have to mention this first. You know, I used this word before, and my friends on the other side of the aisle got mad at me, but hypocrisy. Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. But for years on the other side of the aisle, we heard nothing. Crickets, not a word. Nothing was said when they were in control. Nothing was mentioned basically till last summer, and the ranking member points out that he did do something last year. Yeah, he did a letter complaining about the plea deal for Maxwell, but it wasn't a big deal. Then we get a new administration, and all of a sudden it's a big deal. And
yeah, because you ran on it.
They're upset.
You ran on it.
Years and all this time. And in fact, Stacey Plaskett, and we all know that name, when they had a congressional hearing, Democratic member, were taking texts from Epstein.
Was literally one of your top things to run on.
So Epstein was using her Democratic colleague as a tool to go after President Trump. Just everybody keep that in mind. And then we talk about ICE and how horrible it is. And there are concerns. Everybody wants everything to go right. Nobody ever wants to see somebody die. And they complain about it. But at the same time, hypocrisy.
There's always a but. There's always a but.
To go after the ICE agents.
They have never done that.
To hurt them, to attack
they have told them to use their First Amendment rights.
That doesn't make sense. That's hypocrisy.
That is not hypocrisy.
We hear about the concern of, you know, going after Democrats, that the legal system, that judiciary and Department of Justice is going after Democrats.
Yeah, because they are.
They literally rework the legal system under Alvin Bragg and Letitia James to go after Republicans and those
no, they didn't.
Republicans. So, I mean, be careful when you accuse others that you're not guilty yourself. Be careful of what you say, because you got a history. And
yeah, I'm sure you got a history too, buddy.
I just want to talk about where we were and where we are now. We had over 10 million illegal crossings in the past between 2020 and 24. Over 10 million. There's probably a much bigger number. I'm being conservative. We were told the people weren't dangerous, but they were.
No, they aren't.
They were dangerous.
No, they weren't.
More than 300 individuals on the terror watch list during that time. Violent criminals came across.
300 out of 10 million?
Where mothers and fathers, children were raped, murdered, hurt, abused, beaten, trafficked. All from the drugs. My God, the drugs they brought into our babies in this country.
300 out of 10 million. Oh my gosh.
Criminal histories. 20,000 with convictions of assault, robbery, and sex offenses. 13,000 convicted murderers in our beautiful defenders. It was madness. It was insanity. It's bizarre. It was madness. It was insanity. It's bizarre. It's perverse. What in God's name?
I'm reloading
What are
this.
you doing?
It's acting weird.
So we finally are cleaning this up now. We're finally trying to make it right and safe for our people. So my questions are this. General, do you believe in removing criminal illegal aliens from our communities will save American lives?
They've already said that. The problem is they're not doing that.
The cases that you just discussed, that's proof of it. Every single day, President Trump is committed to that.
Oh my gosh. Stop saying his damn name. He has no part in any of it.
Keeping Americans safe.
Thank you. Would you agree that, and thank you for doing that, would you agree that allowing individuals with known criminal histories to enter and remain in the United States, we knew this back then, they knew it. Would you agree that creates serious risk to our public
I cannot
safety?
stand
I know
these
the
people.
answers, but let's just say them clearly.
Yes.
Would you agree that
Oh,
when
she can
dangerous
answer
individuals
one-word
are released
answers
instead
now.
of detained, and they were released over and over and over again? And these are the real issues. This is really what America cares about. They want their children and their families to be safe. Do you think if you release them instead of detaining them, that crimes will happen because of that?
Absolutely.
Would you agree that, I'm sorry.
And it did.
And it did, thank you. Would you agree that cooperation between, and this is a biggie, and I'm gonna ask you to elaborate on this.
No
This is a
offense,
big
but
deal. This is why some of the problems we're
people that
seeing
work
in
at
some of the
churches are more
places like
dangerous to
Minnesota
the
are
American
happening,
public
that
than immigrants are right
cooperation
now.
between federal and local enforcement, which we always used to have, helps remove violent offenders from our communities, that we should be a team.
Yes.
And can you elaborate on that a little bit? In other words, when the local enforcement is forced by the politicians, not their fault, not to do their job and not cooperate, why does it create the situations that we see where we have need for crowd control? By the way, they're not peaceful. Those are not peaceful protesters.
Yes, they
You know what
are.
a peaceful protester is when you spit on law enforcement. When
Oh,
you push them, when you
no,
hit them,
they
when you
spit on
beat
law
their car. You can
enforcement.
answer the question, thank you.
Gentleman's
And then
time's
I'll
expired.
yield back.
You may answer the question.
Thank you. Yes, I spent 4 days myself in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. What I will say about
4
some
whole
of these
days.
sanctuary cities, some of these democratic cities, law enforcement, they quietly want to work with us. I've spoken to law enforcement in multiple cities who want to work with us. And yes, we're going to do everything we can to keep our citizens safe.
You aren't keeping
whether or
citizens
not
safe.
These, Democrat-controlled sanctuary cities.
Democrats are citizens too, you piece of shit.
Mr.
Chair, I have a UC.
Ms. Crockett from Texas is recognized for UC.
Thank you so much. Donald Trump's approval rating implodes on his strongest issue. This is from Newsweek today. It says 40% of people
Thank you.
approve of
You don't
Trump's
need to
handling
read
of
the article to
immigration
us.
and border security, while 60% disapprove.
Without
That
objection,
is a net
admitted.
drop
Now I
to
recognize the
negative
gentleman
20.
from California, Mr. Liu.
Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for being here today. I'm going to show you 2 photos.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you 2 photos of former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Under the law Congress passed, you were allowed to redact photos to protect the victims of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. You redacted the photos of this victim's face because you were following the congressional law. Is that correct?
Can't you just say one answer?
I'm sorry that we redacted the victim's
Because you were
face?
following the congressional law, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
You have now established that
That's amazing. She can
Please
do
put
it.
the photos back up, that we are looking at a sex trafficking victim. Under the Federal Victims Trafficking Protection Act, not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's sex operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients, like former Prince Andrew. Last July, you closed the case on Epstein's abusers. The July 2025 memo from your Department of Justice stated, quote, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties." These 2 photos, please put the photos back up. These 2 photos staring you in the face are evidence of a crime.
I'm just getting angry.
And more than enough evidence to predicate an investigation against former Prince Andrew. So I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince?
I can't. I'm sorry, guys. I can't anymore. I just can't anymore. I can't listen to her. I can't listen to the bullshit. I just can't. I'm done. I'm done with it. I am done with it.
I had to cover my eyes. I couldn't
I can't listen to her.
keep looking at
Can't
it.
listen to the bullshit.
It is like an absolute fucking shit show, Mike. That was like a whole shit show. That was like, and to see like how the dude called her out, that was my first thought. My first thought in my brain, y'all, was that Jekyll and Hyde was so freaking true. Because damn if she didn't, yes, and all of that, and very nice to the freaking Republicans, and she was just a straight out asshole, and she showed her whole ass. I hope if anybody's kids see that they understand, like, that's not how we're supposed to be behaving ourselves when we're in front of Congress. And for them to sit there, it drives me insane when they talk about the immigrants and unaliving people. Like, why do you guys not ever bring up the fact that it wasn't immigrants that were unaliving our children in our schools here? It was people that were born here. So that whole idea of because someone's from somebody else is from somewhere else and we might not have the correct paperwork or documentation on them being here, that makes them more dangerous than fucking Joe Schmo who lives next door or Gary up the street. That's fucking ridiculous. Or the person that you go sit in church with. That's it.
Leave alone the fact that at least two, probably three federal agents committed cases of cold-blooded murder that were shown to the American people. They sort of left that out.
And every time those kind of things, anytime anything is brought up against this administration or against ICE or anything else, I just kept it on for about a second longer to read subtitles, and she's just deflecting. You're not talking about all the great things that this president has done. I'm just.
Quite obviously, it is often said that congressional testimony is aimed at an audience of one, and this is your example. This is a prime example of testimony being offered for an audience of one person, and he lives at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
For those that have known me a long, long time, I don't get angry a lot. But I'm just angry. Angry at this administration. Angry at the people that voted this in. Angry at all of us that allowed us to get to this point over the decades, including myself. Angry at the kind of bullshit that we're probably going to have to deal with just this year regarding an election.
Are you still talking?
You can talk.
I just want to say, as somebody who's been a victim of somebody else touching me without my permission in ways that they shouldn't be able to show the Attorney General of the United States in front of the judicial... Oh, the fucking chickens are back. I gotta go get the cat food. That's been a victim of that, and to see the Attorney General, and not just the Attorney General, but every single one of the GOP members that participated in that bullshit, take that shit so unseriously. The whole e-files, it's literally like a smack in the face repeatedly over and over again to anybody who's ever been fucking victimized. What in the actual fuck are we doing here?
Yep.
Not only that, with what we know, with only half of the files being released, and if this is the half that they thought was the good half to release, it's contained an awful lot of information, and it brings into real question whether the President of the United States is being blackmailed by Vladimir Putin and President Xi of China. The nexus between Epstein and President Putin is there, and it begs for investigation. It would be the biggest story in American history. It begs for investigation. And Donald Trump, dating back to his first term, remember Helsinki? When he took Putin's word over the word of his own intelligence agencies about interference in the 2016 election, it fits a pattern. He has never done anything that goes sideways with Vladimir Putin, ever. And the question becomes why?
Liz over on the tube says they've changed the topic to vapes now.
Well, maybe I should go watch.
This is just...
How fucking unserious. How unserious. Like, I just... How unserious.
Yep.
Just like...
I want people to pay attention. I mentioned it earlier, but we may have a different audience now. Pay attention to a four-pronged attack on the midterm elections. Gerrymandering, we've discussed 1,000 times. Don't worry about it. Trump has failed on that. The use of ICE to intimidate voters has me very, very worried. Not that they'll be hanging outside a polling place. They can't do that. But all of a sudden you'll read about, tear gas used 3 streets away. You'll hear them shutting off streets, access to polling. Keep your eye on the results of this Fulton County snatching of ballot boxes. This is a test run, folks. He wants to see how the judicial system will react to this. It should have never gotten to the point where they ever got their hands on ballot boxes. That should never have happened. They didn't, in the complaint that went before the judge to get a warrant, you have to show criminal intent. It is a part of the charge. It is the reason for getting a warrant. They didn't even attempt to show any criminal intent, and yet they still got a warrant. This judge should be disbarred. But we've got to find out how it works out in the appellate courts. And finally, the fourth thing that they will attempt to do will be to take over the counting of the ballots, which, of course, the executive branch can't do. We've got to keep an eye on them attempting to do this. It isn't them changing the votes in machines or anything else. It's actions like this we have to keep a very close eye on. Because if these elections that we have seen up to now, the 60 or so special elections, it's landslide after landslide for the Democrats. They cannot possibly maintain the House through any normal election. Therefore, we are going to see all sorts of things along those are the 4 areas I would look for. Those are the 4 areas I think they are going to use.
And that is why it is imperative that people that have not gone out to vote before get out and vote now. That we need to win by such a freaking large margin that anyone that hears him say that it was stolen laughs in his fucking face. 11,000 votes in a state, it's easy to make an argument that there's a problem. 1 million votes in a state, you can't make that same argument. A couple 100,000 votes in a state, you can't make the same argument.
And to put it to you bluntly, based upon statistics, even if it's 11,000, they can't make the argument, but they will. I understand your point. I understand your point. Folks, keep your eye on what ICE does. They aren't there just for immigration purposes. This is a test run. This is the first time in American history that a president has his own private army. He's going to use it, and he is going to use it to disrupt the midterms. Keep your eye on seizures of ballot boxes. The American people right now are just shrugging. The media isn't even covering it. That is a huge deal. That is a very big deal. And that is what they will attempt to do in key precincts, because remember, there's 435 House elections. They can't seize them all. They don't have to. There's only 40 to 50 that are going to be competitive. I've upped it from, 35. And the Democrats have upped it. They're aiming at 42 now. So let's call it 45, 50, maybe even 60. But that's where they're going to be aiming, and that is what they are going to try and do. So keep an eye on that. I certainly hope that there are a lot of election lawyers working on this right now and drawing up immediate appeals to a court to stop it before it happens. Because once it happens, we don't know what happens after that. I don't know what's going to happen to the ballots they've stolen from Fulton County. I don't know.
You know that Democracy Docket is already prepped and ready. They were the ones that fought back at pretty much everyone in 2020. So,
yeah, Mark Elias's shop.
Yep.
Elias knows about it. Elias is screaming about it and begging the newspapers to cover it and begging mainstream media to cover this.
Well, we already have seen what's happening in the Washington Post. And unfortunately, it's going to get worse.
Yep, but that's a subject for another day because you're getting ready to close.
Yep. You want to do the ad?
Of course.
Since you haven't had a chance for the last few days?
Why not? You already know what to do with the orange heart, everybody, but I'll go over it briefly. Tap on that orange heart. Claim your points. That's right. They go to you and Mike. A double whammy, a double win. You're not going to get... Pam Bondi can't even take that away from you yet. So get those points before Pam comes after them. Now, more seriously, folks, get used to the tube. There's a reason for that. You just watched Pam Bondi, didn't you? You see what type of person she is, and that now they own this app. So we don't know what the hell's going to happen over here. We can't predict it. Already a number of center left, and left-wing content creators have been bounced. We don't know what's going to happen here, so it's in your interest, not just our interest, it's in your interest to get used to using the tube. Not only for the great content that Mike has, which you should be watching anyway, and if you haven't, just try one. Just one, that's all I'm asking. Just try one. I'll bet you'll be back for more. Great way to have your morning coffee. But also because it may be our main source of communication in the not-too-distant future. So if you like being a part of this community, if you enjoy what you hear here, even if you like coming on here just to argue with us, that's good too. It's still important for you to get used to using the tube. So maybe once a week, twice a week, go over there, try and engage on it. Mike's lives there start a half hour earlier than they do here. So you get even a little bit of extra time. Everybody over there has a blast. And most importantly, you don't have to watch what you say. You can say what you really feel. You can talk like an adult over there. Whereas here, we have to speak in some sort of 1984 Orwellian speak, hint, hint, pew, 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 unalived, unalived. You get to say what you want to say over there, folks. There's a lot of advantages to it. So please, give it a shot.
Thank you, Scott. Just as a quick thing, just as a reminder, I'm interviewing as many progressives that are running for office. These people need our help. The biggest hurdle that they all have is visibility and name recognition. And if we really want the change that we want, we need to help them get that. Because they're not taking PAC money. They're not taking large donations. They're not taking, they're trying to do things the way that we say we want things done. So if you have the ability to watch the videos and share them with people of people that are running as progressives, as grassroots candidates, please, 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 please help out. Please watch it. Please share it. A reminder, like today, I posted a video of someone who's running as a progressive Republican. They are blatantly progressive. They ran as a Democrat before, but they're running to get Tim Cook, I think is his name, out of the primary. So there's just no chance that he can get back in. And she literally tells people that, you know, she is blatantly progressive, but she needs help. She needs people to help. She needs name recognition. She needs to get her name out there. It's actually funny watching conservatives flip out over her. But so please watch the stuff. Please share it. It helps so much, so much. Yeah. I think that's it. But yeah, I go live at 9:30 over on the tube. I would love to get it so I'm big there and don't have to go live on TikTok, because honestly, as much as there are things I like about it, they're just making it impossible for me to really make money on here right now. And, you know, as much as I'm going to do this for as long as I can, I also have to be able to pay my bills. So any help is greatly appreciated. Watching stuff helps. Sharing stuff helps. So, all right, guys, I will see you tomorrow morning. Yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Try and do something fun. I know I need to go out for a walk or something. I go live at same time, Meme NATO. I just go live 30 minutes earlier over on the tube. So I'm live there right now. There's a lot of cool things coming in the future. We're going to be getting some more live interviews with different candidates that I've already interviewed. Working on some of those right now too. So there's going to be a lot of cool things going on. So please, please help any way you can. I'll see you guys in the morning. You guys are amazing just the way you are, and I love you all very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile. Do something that makes you happy. Bye, guys. Bye, YouTube.